Tastes so bad. What happens if, my friends? Hello, hello. Critical Eeks level 5. Working our way up. We're learning new skills. We are figuring out some backstories of some fascinating characters. And we're critiquing the writing the whole way there. I hope everyone's been doing super well. Things have been pretty damn good for Critical Eeks, the show. This is, of course, not my name. Critical Eeks has received 7 new subscribers since we kicked off. We went from 18. I'd collected 18 over the period of like a year doing my scripted videos and such, which you can go find, and I stand behind a lot of my takes there. Drinking a lot of wine in those days, but then we started doing our live shows only a very short time ago, and we are seeing more people. But it is not lost on me that there are 2 sources of those people. Now, those sources are, of course, the crab people. Welcome, my friends. I have missed many of you dearly. I was just scrolling through YouTube lives yesterday, because it's a weird corner of the internet. I'm not sure, because it's nerfed by the YouTube like community guidelines stuff, so it's not like dark. Like there have been other like social media apps. I can't remember what it was called, but it was supposed to be like the raw TikTok, and I saw too many like, oh, that dude is dead videos that I like the level of weirdness I get to at YouTube lives. Tend to get a lot of people doing this kind of a thing. Get some people, just making weird rants. A lot of debate channels, a lot of churchy channels. But every now and again, you find a karaoke channel, and I like those. I have a bit of a fondness for these karaoke channels, and I had no idea that it was the karaoke channel. The karaoke channel I stumbled onto last night was the channel of Champ Patton, whammy, from the Crab People. So I was just organically wandered into this weird little corner of the web, and I saw some of my friends. Anyway, long story short, it's fantastic to have you guys here. Serendipity brought us back together, and I'm happy to see you. Also, Riley, saw that you're following here now. Much appreciated. You'll step and razor you. So that is source number 1. Was we got a little bit of an influx last night because of the Dear Crab People. The other one, another of which I am quite proud, is probably from my comment on Kill Tony number 750, featuring Lance Armstrong, Matt McCusker, and Tim Butterly. So there I was, laying on my floor watching Kill Tony like you do. Lance Armstrong was on. I think I was watching during the premiere, which is, I think, the only reason that I beat everyone to this very low-hanging fruit of a joke. But I said, to quote, I really respect Lance for having the ball to be a guest on this show. Knowing it was funny, but, I think my best, I only have ever gotten like a couple hundred likes on these comment sections, but this motherfucker went viral, and I don't know what that means, but it got 4.2k likes and a shit ton of people in the responses, and I noticed I was getting a lot more subscribers from that. Now, the people who are commenting are a hilarious spectrum of people also making jokes, one ball jokes. This comment is nut, but that one nut is Jack, blah, blah, blah. There are people who are like, wow, man, this was amazing, which is hilarious. But my favorite of the people were the people who were just coming at me because they thought I was just commending Lance Armstrong. I was like, good for him for having the balls. Anyway, so that is probably the second source of new subscribers. However, Doesn't matter where you come from. I'm glad you're here. We're going to review some stand-up comedy together. Before we jump in and I tell you who we're covering today, I do have some news from the dark side of the channel. Beth Stelling's ass, this motherfucker, Beth Stelling, who I covered in Critical Eeks level 4, just this previous level we were on. Beth Stelling copyright claimed my ass 8 times, 9 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish times. And it's strange because it's not through Beth Stelling. And I looked this up, and she has some company that she works with where they help distribute her stuff, I think. I don't think this was through 800 Pound Gorilla Media. They've been they've been pretty good faith about fair use, what I called free use of the last level. But we learned. It's a new skill we've harnessed. Anyway, she copyright claimed me 11 times. I can still use the content. I don't remember the name of the company that claimed me. It wasn't Beth Stelling, but I have a feeling that Beth Stelling wouldn't be upset to know that she's copyright claiming someone who's going to get 6 views, but also is totally following all the rules of fair use. I won't get into the fair use details. You can Google them fairly easily, but as long as I make it transformative and it's educational and I'm providing a commentary, which all those things I go for. I don't always hit it, but I always go for it. I think what happened, and I'll give Beth the benefit of the doubt here, because I'm a nice guy. I think that Beth... during the coverage of Beth's special, I let longer swaths of content play because we had guests over and they were out for a couple hours, so I wanted to jump up and do one of these. They were coming home soon, so I was rushing, and I let too much of it play without sharing my thoughts. So, giving Beth the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to assume that is why I got copyright claimed, and I will be a little less inclined to be upset. We're not at war. It's probably good for us, because we hit a strong 25, but I don't want to throw us into anything too dire. So, without further ado, I reveal to you that we are covering, on today's Critical Eeks, James McCann, Australian man. It's James McCann. James Forbes Webb McCann, or something insane. Tried to look up his IMDb. He either doesn't have one or he has kind of several. I think that the reason he goes by full-on James Forbes McCann is that there's another James McCann who's probably in the Writers Guild or the Screen Actors Guild or whatever. And that's why, I think it's Writers Guild, but from what I understand, you can't have the same name as another fella or fellette in the guilds, in one of these writers, especially the Writers Guild that you're in. And I know that because Tommy Pope's real last name is Papa, apparently. He said it to Antonio Brown on their Kill Tony shared experience. And he had to change it because he was in the Writers Guild, and Tom Papa's already a guy. So I think that's why he goes by James Forbes McCann. Because if you try to find an IMDb on the fella, I dedicated all of 14 to 18 seconds or so to figuring it out. But yeah, okay, so here's a great example. You Google James McCann. Excuse me, I'm just excited to be back. It's an exciting episode. It's an exciting level we're participating in today. So if you say, who is James McCann? With 2 C's and 2 N's, by the way. Already a writing flaw, James. James McCann can refer to several people, but this is Google AI, and they nailed it, I think, in this case. James McCann can refer to several people, most prominently the Major League Baseball catcher, known for his time with the Tigers, go Cats, and a bunch of other people. Other notable individuals include businessman Jim McCann. He doesn't even come up before damn Jim McCann. He was just on Rogan, which we are going to check out a little bit of before we get into it. James's special is only a half hour, which may be a cool move. We'll figure out how we feel about the length, because if that's what he had and it's all solid and it's all killer, no filler, some 41 style, then good for him for having the integrity to not stretch it to an hour because he's mimicking something that they used to do on HBO. Like, I will respect that if that's what he did. I don't know yet. I have not seen Black Israelites, which is the name of the special. Please do not restrict me. LOL. This is his appearance on Joe Rogan. He had some interesting things to say.
Yeah, you got, I mean,
whores.
You like, it's okay. Money is also great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not against money.
You shouldn't be.
I'm a little bit against money.
Are you? In what way?
He's against money. That is not the, not what I found to be so interesting here. And what I'm about to show you isn't a super hot take. This is just getting some backstory before we jump in. This is a prologue of sorts.
I don't want to make decisions in my life about what would result in having more money. You've got to be able to provide for your family. But I think you see enough people in this business sell out, and people have really lost.
Oh, sell out! Oh shit! You see enough people in this business sell out. He's speaking to Joe Rogan. Joe, I made $200 million moving to Spotify exclusive after building my career on YouTube, Rogan. Which kind of neither here nor there. I don't think it's hotly debated that, Rogan is a sellout or whatever. God knows what he was even selling in the first place, if that's the case. But I digress. What I do think, and what I've had a couple videos I made on, which admittedly there was a degree of trying to catch the attention of some of that Shane Gillis crowd. And there are two that I did, which is, did Shane Gillis sell out? Where I think I've covered some clips about Joe List when he was talking about, how he didn't have Big J Okerson, how Shane didn't have Big J Okerson on tires, and yada yada. Then the second video I put out questioning whether or not Shane Gillis sold out was based around his Patreon, I think. It was I can't remember what the take was, but just that he has the #1 Patreon on there, and he was still reading a bunch of ads, and I don't always hate ads, but when I do, they're for things that are particularly lascivious. Like the old way they used to try to sell VPNs. They've changed it now. They've polished it up now. But the way they used to sell them was by being like, look, we know you're going some weird places on the internet. You don't want people to find out where you're going. I was always like, what? Where are you going on the internet? Now they're like, it's anonymity, and it can help you get around censorship. But if you go back to 2019, they were being really, really weird about the way they sold VPNs. But today's kind of modern plague is something James is about to go on and explain to us. He also has a problem with.
Lost the language of selling out. Like, it's gone. Like in the 90s, everyone, that guy's a fucking sellout. That guy's doing, you do the wrong sort of music on an album and people would accuse you of selling out. So
that's true.
I'm not advocating for that, but there are definitely.
But it used to really just be synonymous with this band's making money now, or this band got signed to a major label, they sold out. That is kind of strange that the definition, the bar's been sort of shifted for that. Just because I feel like it's still in the vernacular. People knew to be upset, all 12 people or whatever that saw it. they knew that sellout wasn't a nice term, but it really, I mean, like, back in my old punk days, especially like as like a young kid, yeah, I mean, like, there's punk and then there's selling out. Like, it was commonly in the vernacular. Like, a young me would have argued that, like, Blink-182 sold out when they went emo, which an old me will also argue that. But anyway, he's right. It used to be way more a part of the cultural vernacular.
There are people out there doing ads for things that it's nuts that they're getting away with it.
What things might these be, James?
Like people who do, like rich guys who are doing gambling commercials.
Now, Rogan gives him some pushback here. Rogan goes on to like call him out. He's like, well, we do gambling commercials, and we'll get to that. But do you know who I think, and I'm almost certain, that on the Matt and Shane's Secret podcast, I have heard Shane, who, by the way, is why James McCann is a thing. I think James, I don't know what his full history is, but I do know he's one of the Shane Gillis crew, like, kind of like with Lemaire and all those guys. Like we wouldn't know. I mean, I don't want to get into Lemaire because, again, I don't know the history behind a lot of these characters, but from what I've seen and what I can speculate, he owes everything he has to Shane Gillis, and I am almost positive, and I should have looked it up beforehand. I'll do, if I'm wrong, then I'll say it on the next level. That'll be one of the skills that I gain. But I'm almost certain that they do sports betting ads on Matt and Shane's Secret podcast, even though they have the highest amount of patrons. They have the #1 Patreon. Like, so it's interesting to me. This, I wanted to kind of do a little side note, because again, we're doing this to get to know James McCann educationally. We're learning who James McCann is before we go in, so we can gain some context on this person before we go hear him talk for 40 minutes. Ideally about things that don't fit on the Kill Tony bingo card, if you will. Anyway, so this is almost done here. We're almost done with our introductory section, but I do want you to hear how he kind of, because he's kind of standing up to Rogan here, because Rogan goes on to say,
I don't mind gambling. I'm open to gambling. I enjoy gambling.
We do gambling commercials.
We do gambling commercials. Interrupts him to be like, okay, cool. Couple of people sharing their beliefs. I like that. Good exchange.
We do gambling commercials on
Surely James McCann is going to hold his ground.
this podcast.
And I may be open to doing it myself in the future.
But what, James? This is going to be an important but.
When I do see
We do DraftKings.
Samuel I don't even mind that as much.
I don't mean like those sorts, you know. I don't mean those kind of gambling. What the fuck were you talking about then? That's the #1 sports draft or whatever the fuck it's called. Sports Kings Bets. Which I'm officially sponsored by, which is why I can do this. Yeah, I see this shit. It's my Sports Kings money. My bet sports money just came in. I don't remember what I was talking about.
But why is it different than Samuel Jackson reading for?
Right, so he gets called out for we do DraftKings and on this show here at JRE. We're a DraftKings family. And James is like, well, I don't mean that one.
Or a gambling
Warren.
I don't know DraftKings enough, but there are things like,
it's what you're talking about, JJ.
in Australia we got Bet365, which is like, they've turned it into a social media app / gambling.
I mean, this one you've never heard of before. That's what I'm talking about. On the biggest podcast in the world. Working on my Aussie.
Software.
Okay.
You used to just be like this.
So it's where you go to socialize and gamble at the same time. And that does give me a strong ick factor.
Yeah.
Like if you're
Russell was
building.
talking about that.
What he just described, and Joe doesn't want to start a fight here. He's being very nice because James Forbes McCann is Shane Gillis's friend, is my theory. But he'll go on to say in a bit here.
The problem in Australia with gambling as
Yeah.
well.
Pretty much, by the way, we also do that. Like, DraftKings also has a social aspect to it. James utterly walks this point back, and I think it's probably to be polite. I don't know. It's probably because, you know, he's talking to the Kingmaker or whatever. And to be fair, I'm reviewing his stand-up comedy special because his appearance on JRE made him more, you know, relevant in the universe. Because previous to that, it's just his appearances on Kill Tony. He did one fairly recently. He's really making the rounds right now, but he was just on very recently, and he's, from what I've seen of James McCann, small amount, he seems to be kind of like shifting almost. Like his personality, he was very like humble and like long hair and beard, and yeah, but apparently now he's like stringently Catholic. Which whatever, I don't care what God you believe in, I don't give a fuck. But he's kind of like playing up the conservative angle more than I remember him doing. But I guess when he was getting big, it would have scored him big points then too. So I don't really know. I don't follow him particularly closely. I am excited to get into his comedy though. So let's get a little reggae transition as we go. Check out Black Israelite. James Forbes McCann. James Donald Forbes McCann is his name. Which is, of course, not what I thought his full name was. It's so much. I mean, make a stage name. Call yourself Critical Eeks or something. He's kind of going, yeah. So right off the gate, I hit play at zeros. Right off the gate, he's like flexing and yelling at the crowd. That's kind of fun, you know. You're getting them amped up. I'm a big proponent for stage presence. I think there are comics who get away with not really having much outward crazy stage presence, but you know, you don't have to be Dane Cook about it. But Beth Stelling had a few like little act outs, like she did like her Morena thing, and she did like the body swish or whatever, like little things, knowing that can add a lot. So anyway, he's really running from one side of the stage to the other. He's yelling, getting people all stoked. Hello. Wow. I can't keep doing that the whole time. It's hilarious. If any Aussies are seeing this, feel free to make fun of my accent. It is not hard to do, bro.
Oh, it's a hot night in Philadelphia.
Cold open. Pretty hot cold open. Not gonna lie to you. So really weird, artsy, kind of like high frequency flashing through these frames.
What's up? Put your motherfucking guns up. Get back to Australia.
Okay, well, they beeped the song. We're back to Australia, which is a funny line to lead into a comedy special which was filmed in Philadelphia.
You guys are thrilled about America.
He kind of... So with regards to the intro, he kind of did it his own way. You know, a big, loud, cold open into a short theme song thing, and then crash cut right into his act. 34 seconds in, and he's already going for it. I like that take.
I like that you can abbreviate it into one, just one sound. Which I...
He's doing America jokes. Whew. Some fresh off the boat shit, James. What are you talking about, man? America. America was... Is it South Park? Like 2006 South Park? America. Or Stephen Colbert, maybe, from his, like, the Colbert Report. I remember Merca being like a real eye-rolling thing before I had chest hair.
What I found out is This Is America. It's a full set, because it sounds like it's just short for America, but it's short for This Is America, which you shall...
Do you hear everyone get quiet because they're like, does? That it was just sort of a balloon animal of an accent of the kind of person who would, America. Whatever. It's offensive.
A lot. I mean, you go to the Rose Bowl and there's a fighter jet going overhead and people are like, this is America! America!
USA! USA!
It's like, yes!
For real, I can't. It was sometime fairly recently, but I decided anytime, regardless of context, when I hear somebody doing the USA chant, I will join in. I suggest you do the same. A lot of camaraderie. And when someone that looks like me comes up, it's like, USA, USA. You know, people like it.
No one else is getting the military.
This is kind of loud. That's loud. He's a loud guy. You have some up here? Okay.
Involved in collegiate sport.
It's too quiet, James.
That is just you guys. But it's like,
oh, the military getting involved in collegiate sports. So you'd be at a college game and see a jet. I see.
Yes. No one else is getting the military involved in collegiate sport. That is
rock and roll. That's what that is.
Just you guys. But they say that everywhere. Like you go to England and they go, "This is England." For them, it's a question. It's a sad question. Because I love...
I guess they've got some pretty crazy stuff going on. I also happen to know from his interview on JRE that James Forbes Donald's McCann is, he's an X-Man. Not talking Gambit. I'm talking, he hangs out on X quite often. He refers to it frequently. Now, I also have it. I deleted the app. I found myself, and I know this is probably a damning phrase if in my niche for me to say, but in the last episode I found myself agreeing with Rogan more than probably in that one episode, more than I had for a lot of 2024. Just because he had a couple of takes, including one where he's like, I don't even have X on my phone, man. Like, I had to get rid of that shit because every time I would close it, I would feel just nasty. And I actually really, really got that. Plus, I don't know. I like hanging out there, but I can be molded. My brain can be massaged and washed and molded into whatever, man. I don't want to be whipped up into some kind of confused propaganda fueled, frenzy that you see a lot of these people. These otherwise, like, pretty cool people, but X is weird. And this is like a classic Twitter rant. Oh, it really brings the worst out of people because you can just, on an impulse, say what you want to say, and that's in the world forever. But for real, like, Stephen King, who obviously, like, legendary writer and author, legendary author, really led the march on a lot of what has become very common literary tropes from what I understand. If you follow him on X, he's just like, he's getting into petty squabbles and political arguments, and I don't know. It's not that I don't care or anything, I can't be bothered. But James Mick can be bothered too, because he referred to it at least, I can only say definitively once, but you see him on there. When I pop on, because I will, like, I'll probably repost the link to this on there, because I do have some homies on there. But I don't know, I don't know that there's necessarily a right way to do it. I think overexposure is really one of the greatest symptoms of the kind of rot that we're providing performing arts, because we're just constant. Think about it, it's the ones that you don't see all the time that you want to see more of. Excuse me, would you? I've got that with Walton Goggins right now, because he's on the Fallout show, And he was on Righteous Gemstones, and I saw the one that he did with Danny McBride. He plays like a vice principal or something. Vice principals, I think. I liked him in all of those, but then he started doing Walmart commercials, and he's just on all the time, and he's doing his tap dance and being Walton Goggins. And it's just like, then when I saw him on Fallout, I wasn't like, Goggins! I was like, hell yeah, it's the Walmart guy. And I like Walmart just fine. It's just overexposure. So, James Donald Forbes McCann is an ex guy, and that is also a little bit of helpful context on his character.
For them, it's a question. It's a sad question.
Oh, right, because, yeah, on X, you see, at least 6 months ago, just a bunch of, like, England has fallen. Like, and it's funny because, you know, I see things from the other side, or I have factual, like, I know people who live over in London, and I haven't heard any reports back of, like, the Muslims have taken over. But on X, you would not know that. On X, it is the only thing you see, and it's all about how, well, they have no free speech, and they're jailing people for tweets. And anyway, so that's what he's referring to here. Joke over explained.
Because I love England. They go, England's shit. Oh, fucking hate England. It's all Muslims and crime.
What did I say?
This is England. I can't believe. I'm glad the Queen is dead. So she doesn't have to live to say what they done.
The sheer and thick irony of hearing him make fun of someone else's accent. Hearing an Aussie make fun of a Brit's accent as an American is chef's kiss. That's one of the best things I've ever seen. They all do it to each other too. I thought it was just us. It sounds normal, people making fun of you.
England. This is England. We say it in Australia, we say, this is Australia. We say it at Vietnamese people on the bus. We put it, this is Australia. You better speak Australian if you're in Australia. And that's not racist because it's our culture. Taking it away
Kind of feel like they stole that from us too.
from us would be
The
the
list is getting kind of long.
racist. Anyway, a lot of people say it. The Chinese say it. The Chinese love saying this is China. Yep, sadly, they keep saying it in places that are not China. You know?
That's a clever geography joke.
They say it in Hong Kong. They say it in Tibet. They say it in parts of the sea.
I was one time touched by the Dalai Lama. Fun Tibetan fact.
That joke was originally about Israel, but my manager asked me to make it about China for some reason. I don't know why. My manager...
I stepped on his punchline. I think that was actually funny.
That joke was originally about Israel, but my manager...
Going back.
Sadly, they keep saying it in places that are not China. You know? They say it in Hong Kong. They say it in Tibet. They say it in parts of the sea. That joke was originally about Israel, but my manager asked me to make it about China for some reason.
It's funny.
I don't know why.
Okay, let's get a little bit of context now that we know what we're getting into. Again, this is a little bit shorter of a special, so I want to kind of really... Also, I don't want to get copyright claimed by Mr. Donald Forbes McCann. Oh, of course, the description is just his fucking tour dates, which are totally relevant for a very long time and makes sense to put in perpetuity. Because you know you're not going to change it. First of all, this is on his YouTube, so he didn't go with the Gorilla or Comedy Inside, Comedies Today, or whatever these other sites are. So all these dates are already irrelevant. This, however, premiered September 1st, 2025. So this is very new. Well over 1 million views, 1.3 million views. James is blowing up. I think I said something about him on X one time, and I think I was talking shit because he looks weird, like a toe or something. I don't remember what I said. It was probably awesome, but the comment But I did get a comment, which is like 300% more interaction than I usually get on anything. But I got this comment, and he was like, "That man's in Australia. That man's a national treasure." I was like, okay, that tracks. They don't have a whole lot of guys. I have seen a lot of Australian comedians. I don't remember what the podcast was called. My buddy told me to watch them, and they're like, like C tier. They're like podcasters / comedians rather than like some of these guys who, although it would be argued in many circles, are stand-up comedians / podcasters. But I've heard a lot of Australian comedy. They're a clever bunch. Honestly, I do. I think I really like wry, like wordplay and kind of dry humor. Things based a little more around like one-liners. I like things that are quite succinct. I'll enjoy a well-told story. It's just so seldom that you get someone that can tell a very long-winded story. Beth Stelling did that fantastically. I rewatched Level 4 like I do, looking for shorts, even though I don't always follow up on posting them. But I really came to appreciate, especially in the first half of her special, Beth Stelling's storytelling capacity. She has a background in writing, and I think James kind of does too. I saw one of his YouTube videos. It was about some random town in the U.S. and it was kind of charming. Like it was like him doing a very dry VO. It seemed like lightly scripted, or it had an interesting vibe to it. So I think he has a little bit of a writing background as well. His jokes are, so far proven to be quite tight. And I don't think he's doing like an outlandish version. Like I don't think he's doing like an outlandish character. But I will say that he's different when he's on Rogan. He puts on his like intellectual voice. He wants to be a senator, by the way. That's another thing. Which, here's to him. I don't know how the fucking Australian system works. It sounds to me like he might actually have a chance at it. But he puts on the tone of a man who has senatorial aspirations. I can't do it with the accent, but like, I don't think that's very right. What would you say? If you. But he's kind of a little bit a louder, pumped up version of himself on stage, which I've talked about at length. That disconnect, and frankly, I think it's to some degree a symptom of overexposure. But that disconnect of like, I really like who you are on stage, but I have a hard time like vibing with who you are as a person. Death of the artist and all that.
My manager, my accountant, my lawyer, my agent.
They all asked him to change it from Israel to China.
Everybody said, I think that joke is a lot funnier if it's about China. No, I'm trying to fit in, all right. You guys have to, I'm not allowed to talk about Israel.
Okay.
You guys have a First Amendment, and that's great. I'm here on a visa, I don't have one. And that's one of two things I'm not allowed to talk about. I also don't have a Second Amendment right. I'm not allowed to own a gun that the government knows
This might be a really good transition right there.
about. But
If he goes into like gun stuff now, or like...
I am in Texas, and it's so easy. Anyway, I do have a 13th Amendment.
Transitions to amendments, I guess?
I'm not allowed to own a slave, but the first two amendments... No First Amendment. There's generally two things
Probably kills in the Gillis circles.
I'm not allowed to talk about. One of them is criticizing... Marco Rubio passed a thing that if you criticize Israel, you can lose your visa. I'm allowed to criticize America all I want. I'm not... If I criticize Israel, I'm genuinely... But I wouldn't want to.
I was going to say, like, cheers, you can criticize America all you want. That's the whole point. But then he got into some Israel stuff, and I was mid-cheers, and was like, I don't know shit. Don't know nothing about nothing.
What is there to complain about at all? Genuinely.
Sort of milking this a little bit.
Too peaceful. That's all I would say.
Ha 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 ha. Hold on, I gotta turn down this fan, sorry. Don't want it messing with my precious audio.
Listen.
Let me know what you think of the reggae intro. I'm thinking what I want to start doing is I got a new electric piano for Christmas. Santa brought me a piano. I want to have it right here, and then I think like halfway through, because I noticed when I was rewatching Level 4, there's a little bit of like not a slump, but a change, a retardando, a change in pace, slowing, a drag. And I think we can fix that with some good old-fashioned Green Day covers on a piano. Yeah, it'll be a little bit more of a variety show that way, but let me know what you think in the comments or in the chat, because I do, I want us all to kind of build this together. Eventually, I want to be streaming on YouTube, where I just found Champ and where the Iron Patriot is currently asleep on camera, currently streaming himself sleeping, which here's to him, here's to him. He's killing it. He's got his crowd figured out, and they're building, and I am happy for him there. I want to be part of the the YouTube live streaming community. So if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, because I got to get to 50 before I can go live. That's my pitch.
It's Cameron. I love Israel.
I love Israel.
I'm a big fan. Sir, what is the month?
So I'm looking down here. I'm utterly bored with this material right now, but this, because he went like, sarcastic Israel pandering to crowd work, and I'm just sick of both. This came out in September, so like, I'm sure it was hot over the year that he was writing it or whatever. But anyway, so as I'm kind of zoning out on this dude, one of the suggested videos looks like another one of his specials. It's 18 minutes 40 seconds. James Donald Forbes McCann, Hey America, stand-up comedy. Just says stand-up comedy. Doesn't say special. But guess where it was posted? On Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. So I think that's where James got his big upstart, because they have a massive, massive following. And it's a following that's sort of hard to troll, I found. But they're loyal. And I think Shane Gillis is the type of comedian to attract the less than broke. He's kind of the working man's comic. It's not like a Lewis, Legion of Skanks, like making people more in my economic existence. Probably people who have had full-time jobs for a very long time. And thus, what do they call that? Disposable income, I think it's called. Who am I kidding?
It's the month that comes after June. July. I would never say that. I prefer to call that month Jew Tell the Truth. I think that's a better name for that month. I am sick.
Oh, instead of July. See, that's the kind of thing that I like. I like dumb word comedy. Sorry, I just dropped a crispy hunted. Oh, no. My money's... I don't even care. I'll get more money from my draft sports betting.
Of all the anti-Israel propaganda.
Anyway, I really like wry wordplay, and I don't even like the month of July. I think they should call it Jew Tell the Truth. Is very, very, very funny.
That I'm seeing. I saw a Facebook post where someone said Israel has killed or injured 50,000 children in Gaza. That's not fair. I've injured 12 children, I would say, in my life. Something like 12 children. As a child or through negligence as a father, I'd say I've injured... There have been 12 child-related injuries. I've killed 0 children. But if you came out with a thing that said James McCann has killed or injured 12 children, while accurate, that would make me seem worse.
James is also a self-admitted, I don't think he described himself this way per se, but he definitely knows this little fact about him. He is a contrarian. to the tune of being an Epstein denier. I'll let that soak in. He's so committed to having the contrarian's take, to playing the devil's advocate, that he's like, everyone seems to hate this Epstein fella. I think I like him. I shit you not, that's on Jerry, and I had the time codes, but my little piece of paper got torn. I swear to God, the dog ate my homework.
So there'll be no more discussion of Israel. No.
Even in the audience, there's some chuckling, there's some giggling. People, it's winding down. Hopefully now I don't even know what I hope he goes on to talk about. If he's jumping from Israel, I think he's probably going to keep it on religion. Let's see.
I am allowed to criticize America, but I don't want to because I love it here so much. It's been so good to me. I've even got a favorite school shooting. And I don't know about you guys.
School shooting, there's a twist.
I don't know if you guys have a favorite school shooting.
It's on the bingo card, but it's a little dusty.
If you're just waiting to see what the new year brings, I don't. Well, I'll tell you about my favorite school shooting. It was a girl who did it, which is rare. All right, the vibe is shifted.
Why do I have a feeling that this is going somewhere trans-related?
I'll play a song while I describe my favorite. All right.
How the fuck are you gonna get us both copyright stricken?
So this girl goes to school with I think it's a revolver. She gets 6 shots. She unloads them into a teacher and her classmates.
Come on, man. Time goes. Okay, go back.
She missed everybody. That's my...
I'll give him credit. I've never seen anyone really do this before. All YouTube copyright jokes and legitimate concerns alike. Never seen anyone kind of change the mood with putting their phone to the microphone. And given that, smartphone technology has really just been developing in the last few decades, it's probably might be the first guy to do it publicly, do it on a special.
My favorite bit about it, she missed everybody.
I don't love it, but I think it's cool if it's the first.
She hit the wall.
Does that make me a fucking genius?
She hit a desk. I don't know if she heard school shooting and she thought, I'm going to go and shoot the school. But worst thing that happened was a splinter came off a table and hit a teacher in the hand. I swear.
Okay, I think I was remembering, maybe he's talked about this, or maybe I've heard a similar premise. But who else was talking about that? I have a favorite school shooting thing is a concept I'm pretty certain I've heard before.
Isn't that great? She didn't even save a bullet for herself. A school shooter 101. She went bang, 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 click, click.
Kind of did like a...
I want to be the policeman going in to get her. After you kick down the door, hey!
So, quick side note, because I was thinking about, I want to get some kind of visual element to be able to share. I could try to figure out OBS, but that's down the road, man. But Dane Cook had a special that came out 6 months ago that I was writing a review for back when I was doing that. And I think we'll cover that on here at some point too. But maybe not until I can debut the visual aid. Because I guess theoretically I could take off the back of the chair and just have this here so you could see behind me. And then I could turn and kind of do one of these or watch it there or whatever the case. Again, let's help make this a better show together.
You gotta apologize to these people.
clapter there, but it's not always bad, I've learned, and am learning. Because I am no expert. I'm just saying my thoughts and watching things I think could be interesting. But from what I'm finding out in clapter, it can also be the audience demonstrating, you recognize the cleverness in what you've just said or done. In the case of like putting your phone there, they're like, that was fun. Like, yeah, I didn't end, break cracking my ribs or nothing, but like, I think in this case it's genuine appreciation for the performance. It's like applause. So when you're, say you're listening to jazz, as it goes, or blues even, when they're passing the solos around, when someone finishes their solo, you clap. And I think sometimes, and it can only be true very sparingly, I bet, but I think sometimes that's what clapter is. It's kind of the recognition of like some fine craftsmanship or instrumentalism, so to speak.
I can't remember if that really happened or if it's a dream that I had. Second thing I'm not meant to talk about is black people.
I don't... What, like on his visa? The two things he's not allowed to talk about are Israel and black people? Fuck. I mean, I don't know. I've never had to apply for a visa here, but I imagine that's just him, suspend your disbelief, because I'm sure he's just using that as a setup. But it does bump a little.
So that doesn't work out.
And not for the reasons he wants it to bump, to be clear.
For the white.
I'm not like...
Ever. There's never like a news story on CNN where it's like a white guy has spoken on black America and he's really hit the nail on the head. We're all thrilled with what he said. And genuinely that could tarnish my visa. These are the only two things that I think could hurt my... You would think there would be more, but I think genuinely I've got it down to those two. Any racial hate gets me out. So we'll be a bit...
So not just black people, though. It's just a weird, pointless pull-off. Okay.
Careful. Like when you're trying to get into America, there's a list of crimes that you can't have committed if you want to come into America with a visa. And
I'm pro that.
It's like murder, and you go, that's fine. I haven't done that. But they'll go like, if you do a murder, you'll never get an office job in America. You got to walk across that border like everybody else. But then there's a secondary list of crimes, and they're crimes that you can have committed unless you've done them as a hate crime somehow. So an assault, fine. A hate crime assault, very bad. And some of that's all right. But then I'm looking at it going, well, how do I do a racially motivated drink driving? What steps do I actually...
Okay, but we are bordering on Monopoly guy, because I don't know. I haven't seen that list. We don't have proof, and as we learned in in level 4 with Beth Stelling, the key to dismantling the Monopoly guy is to build that character's backstory so that the audience adequately understands that when you start talking about these quirks and these things that make the Monopoly guys so weird and outlandish and funny, we are right there with you, going like, yeah, right, because the Monopoly guy, he's the board game and the blah blah blah. So just introducing this concept of like, they won't even let me, and on that list it says racial or drink and drive hate crime or emotionally charged drunk driving. In order for this to actually be funny, we have to believe that that's actually on there, or it's just like a crazy ridiculous concept.
We have
do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
To take to get that done. I gotta go to a 7-Eleven and give me 9 fireballs and directions to West Philadelphia, please. I can see no way to do it. I have no interest in talking about the state of Israel or African Americans, but the fact that I'm not allowed to do it really makes me want to. And when I was young, that felt like a good attribute. They can't tell.
Not allowed to do it. Go back. I got confused in the wording there. Distracted. He's pretty physical with his act outs. Like, he's very like, hit the mic that time, and he's taking off his glasses, and he's an interesting watch. I guess you'll have to take my word for it for now.
Philadelphia, please. I can see no way to do it. I have no interest in talking about the state of Israel or African Americans, but the fact that I'm not allowed to do it really makes me want to. And when I was young, that felt like a good.
I think 90% of the laughs here are because he's a funny. Now, there's no way for this to be a nice thing, but I do mean this in the nicest way. He's a funny-looking fella. Some dudes are just built to be stand-up comedians, you know. Some can get away with a lot because they're just funny looking. And I don't mean like, yeah, he's funny looking. I'll just say, there's no two ways about it. I'm sure you would agree. I think he's less funny looking when he shaves his head or is doing like a weird mullet thing and like gets rid of his beard. Long haired, long beard James McCann seems more down to earth, and so like it's a little more like, oh, that's interesting when he's got like these conservative takes. But when he's all shaved face and like, yeah, I don't know. And I think that was part of the point I made on X when I got told that he is a national treasure. But I think, as I was saying, I think 90% of the laughs going on right now are because it's just funny to hear him yelling in his silly accent and like flailing around. I'm not trying to take away from his comedic timing or the writing for some of these other jokes, which some of them have been very clever and I found them to be funny. But like, right now what's going on, I don't know that anyone really is following him word for word here. It's just like, it's a funny little guy who's freaking out right now.
It really makes me want to. And when I was young, that felt like a good.
He's not even finishing his sentences. He's just milking the fact that people they like to watch him get all worked up.
Attribute. They can't tell me what to say. I'm going to say whatever I want to say. And as I get older, it's just a big liability that stops people hanging out with me in groups. I was backstage and Al Pacino's baby mama was there for some.
Except those groups that you're hanging out in are like, it's the comedy mothership, right? Like, I feel like you know that that's not still true, but your audience likes to hear people talk about it like it is still true. These people that still are like, oh, you can't say anything without getting canceled. It's like, no. Maybe at some point that would be a sympathetic take, but at this point there's an entire industry built around people who like, oh, I got canceled, I blah 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 blah. I think Tony Hinchcliffe jumped the shark at the presidential rally, and really it's not. It's cancellation isn't still really a thing. You have a whole massive, thriving fan group that you know is proven to love those people. So the more you hear people talk about, like, we can't say anything anymore, it's like, yeah, but, like, yes, you can, and that means, like, you say, because I think a lot of what it is, a lot of what I see in that now is someone setting themselves up to seem more edgy. You can't say anything anymore, and it's reverber. You know, like, I think that's, I think it's kind of serving to yourself. But anyway.
For some reason. The mother of Al Pacino's child. It's a circle, me and some friends, and the mother of Al Pacino's, she's young, and he's Al Pacino. He's very...
I'm going to have to go back because I don't remember what the hell he's talking about.
I was backstage, and Al Pacino's baby mama was there for some reason. The mother of Al Pacino's child. It's a circle, me and some friends, and the mother of Al Pacino's...
Backstage where? I'm sorry, I gotta go back again. That's crazy.
They can't tell me what to say. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. And as I get older, it's just a big liability that stops people hanging out with me in groups.
Yeah, but like, you can. That's the classic. It's like, you can say it though. Like, you were afraid to say it because you didn't want social repercussions, but he's kind of admitting that at the end there. Anyway, let's see where he meets this baby mama.
I was backstage and Al Pacino's baby mama was there for some reason. The mother of Al Pacino's child. It's a circle, me and some friends, and the mother of Al Pacino's...
Generic friends in a generic backstage area, I guess, is the setting for this.
He's young, and he's Al Pacino. He's a very old man. And someone says, this is Al Pacino's, the mother of his child. And another friend grabbed me by the arm and walked me away. I said, I didn't do anything wrong. He said, I think you were going to. I'm not sure, but it felt like...
Right, and so now what? We're sitting here, like, because he, like, joked around about making those, like, sarcastic Israel jokes, so now we're supposed to believe that he's, like, edgy in real life. I don't know. I believe that about him, but not because of what he's presented to us in this act. You know, this thing should stand alone. We shouldn't need to know. I like to get background information on them before we jump in. I think that was a fun little segment we did today. But, like, the comedy should stand on its own. The piece of writing should stand on its own. You have to introduce who you are, and you'll have to change that, you know, for the fans that watch you, special to special. But nothing that he's provided in this special shows me that he's the kind of edgy guy that's gonna, like, say something to Al Pacino's baby mama. Like, I don't know. I don't buy it. Because he's just the whole time been telling us how edgy he is, or, like, trying to convince us, like, hey, I wanted to say anything, but then, like, you could get in trouble for it, so I, like, stopped. But, like, now I don't do it because, like, I have a career, but I hate sellouts. Like, that's a kind of a reach. But
you were going to ask some inappropriate questions, and I was going to ask if the baby seemed unusually wise, but so I will not talk about black people, and I will not talk about Israel. All right, here's the big...
There was a long pause. He kind of did one of these, and he, like looked up. It's bright out there, my God.
Problem with Israel, as far as I can... You've got to kill a lot of innocent people to build a country. I'm sorry, have you forgotten?
He's, like, staring down the camera. There's kind of a wide shot of him, and he's just, like, staring down the barrel, being like, you have to do this to start a country. Again, he is smart, though. He's playing to his crowd. Because his special was posted on the Matt and Shane's Secret podcast, he's got a lot of Galician fans, from Shane Gillis, of course, widely known term. And so this, like, history-based stuff, where it may be true to his voice, and maybe that's why him and Shane get along, I don't, doesn't affect my opinion of this piece one way or the other, but yeah, it's history comedy can be sort of tricky. I will say, if anyone does it well, it is Shane Gillis, where it's like, oh, that's an interesting historical fact and a funny take on it. But I imagine, like, people will confuse anything that's on the same, you know, subject matter. I imagine it can get confused for, hey, I like this kind of thing.
That's the only way to do it. A lot of innocent people have to die. If you guys did it, you never talk about it, because you...
A lot. It comes up a lot. I mean, you know, pretty frequently. I mean, maybe, but again, this day and age comes up. It's so... It's such a respective, you know, because we all have our own little orbs that we consume things from, and so comes up. It's not like you hear about it on the antenna news.
You did a lot of slavery afterwards, and you really want to focus on the slavery. I get it. You can focus on one thing at a time, and that's bigger for you. I get it. Canada didn't do the slavery. They can't stop going on about stealing the land. But you guys did the slavery, so you got to work through that first. It's like you've gone to a house party and...
He better turn this around and talk about the Aboriginals.
shit your pants, and then punch somebody in the throat. You know?
I'm pretty sure he seems self-aware enough to be like, we even did it over in Australia.
And afterwards, everybody
I'm getting better.
goes, oh, he punched that guy in the throat. That's terrible. But it's going to take a while before people start going, I think he shit his pants, man. Got to work backwards through it.
That's kind of a funny bit. I'll go back because I talked over it a little bit.
Afterwards, everybody goes, and then punch somebody in the throat. You know? And afterwards, everybody goes, oh, he punched that guy in the throat. That's terrible. But it's going to take a while before people start going, I think he shit his pants, man. Got to work backwards through it.
Okay, I didn't rewind all the way back, but that is a funny, and again, very clever. A little more on the wry style, or it's kind of an interesting observation. I like that kind of thing.
People have to... Those were the rules. For all of human history, the rules were, we kill you, we take it, goodbye, don't...
I was at lunch with somebody who quoted this, who happens to be a James Donald Forbes McCann fan, self-described, and he almost quoted this to me. It came up organically in conversation.
The ones who are left, if you complain, we're going to kill you too. You guys messed that up for everybody. I can criticize America. You guys are the real problem here. After World War II, you had the bomb. No one else had the bomb. You said, time out. These lines on the map are beautiful. We're going to keep them exactly as they are. All right? Because you had the best lines. You didn't want to fuck with your lines at all. You're not going to fill up Wyoming with suburbs for 1,000 years. You were very happy to say, whoa, time out. These are the lines. Time back in. Israel exists. Time out again. All right. Now that we've made that one correction, this new rule about where the lines are.
Again, history comedy. Like, oh, yeah, okay. That was a very long time ago. But I guess I'd probably be calling him out if he was doing some hack contemporary issue too. So, just how will you win, James?
That has never been the case ever at any point in all of humanity. All right, black people. Now, I do want to get to the... You deserve credit for this as a country. Is that, like, for 4 years, you had the nuclear bomb, and you didn't do anything with...
It's so weird that he hasn't set this up being like, now granted, I'm from Australia. You had your natives, Canada has First Nation, we had something called Aborigines.
Other than the first couple of times. You got it, and you used it twice, and then you said, no one's ever using these again. People said...
And I got that, like, it was a prison colony or whatever, so, like, a lot of the early pioneers didn't choose to be there. But that doesn't excuse your conduct. If you get forcibly dropped off at a place and then hit the next guy you see, it's not the person that dropped you off's fault. You're still liable for punching that fellow or stealing that whole continent, right? Are they their own continent? You gotta play Risk again, man.
You guys just use them, you're like, yeah, we were excited to get them. But now that we're more of a do as I say, not as I explode type of nation. Now that I've got them, we're just gonna have peace everywhere, more or less. Basically, peace. That's incredible. You were the only nuclear power. No one could fuck with you, and that's what you...
I will say, the Australians have taken a bit of a hit recently in that internet anarchist. Oh, got busted, buddy. He's in big, big, big trouble. I have seen the proof. He's guilty, bruh. Like... Internet Anarchist is like a Sunny V... People call him a Sunny V2 knockoff. He does coverage of things that he sees other people do coverage of online. So, like, big internet, you know, the Hook 2 ago, that kind of thing. The Vitaly situation, internet news. Internet Anarchist does weekly documentaries and really high-quality ones. And people have always kind of been a little suspicious, but their comments have never really, like, turned... Anytime I've thrown a comment out there criticizing something, I've find to be quite valid in his content, it doesn't get like boosted. They're not like a bunch of people that like agree with me. Not like on Kill Tony 750, but he was, what he would do is take somebody's script, add a bunch of synonyms and change the phrasing slightly, but the structure of the script itself, these were identical. Mr. Snowflake is the channel that did it. It's like, I think this whole scandal is like 14 days old or something. But he has like 1.5 million subscribers, and there's like 1,000 people mad about it. But he's just blatantly stealing from these creators who have like a third of his following. Like I said, he's got like 1.4, 1.5 million. Actually, I think it's 1.8. And he's stealing from creators that have like 500K. This is all like me looking at clouds proverbially. Like, that's all so way high above me. But as far as influential Australians go, they definitely took a little bit of a loss there, because I used to kind of like Internet Anarchist. I have since subscribed to the channels he was stealing from, which I think Ryan Pictures is one of them. Yeah, more as this story develops with the Aussies.
You went with. No one else would have done that.
Going back.
We're going to have peace everywhere, more or less. Basically, peace. That's incredible. You were the only nuclear power. No one could fuck with you, and that's what you went with. No one else would have done that. Give yourselves a pat on the back.
We talked about this on Rogan. So weird. That's so, to do it backwards is crazy. Because there's this phenomenon of like comedy podcasters, you know, they're shooting the shit with their other comedians and they come up with like a good bit. Like, oh, that was pretty funny. And then they start, they take it on the road, they refine it, and eventually you'll hear you hear that joke you heard, be manifested, conceptualized. And then you'll hear the refined version in the special, which sounds kind of cool. And if it's like one or two, I imagine it is pretty cool. But some of these comedians do it constantly, where it's like, yeah, those are your talking points. We've heard you go over this already, and you've thrown those same punchlines in, not in such a refined manner, but like, we know this joke. James is kind of doing it backwards. He's probably said this on a podcast. I couldn't speak to that. But what I can speak to is he's doing it on his special, then going on Rogan and telling the same kind of story, making the same kind of points. The whole, like, you were the only ones with a nuclear power, and you just were like, no, it's going to be peace now. It's like, you're the only ones that would have done that. He said it to Rogan, and Rogan was like, cool, thank you. He's very appreciative of it. Almost as though he hadn't heard this special at all. Because he doesn't like when people come on and do like late night show bits that are like pre-formed. I think he finds that offensive or something. He seemingly has a history of hating that. I've seen Red Bar cover it.
But if I was the Prime Minister of Australia, I would have done that.
It's so strange that he made all those points on JRE to advertise for a special he'd already recorded, where he says those same points. It's bold.
Give yourselves a pat on the back for that. If I was the Prime Minister of Australia and we got the nuke, I would have been going crazy.
Careful with that stuff, Senator McCann.
I would have been out there with a megaphone going, oi, Spain! Put hats on the dogs, Spain. I want photos. I want every dog to have a hat in Spain. All right. Thailand, send over 1 million hot women. They have to be women. They have to be real women. Don't try and trick us. Example number 3.
That's on the bingo board for sure. Thailand ladyboys jokes.
Third thing. You know what I'm saying?
Did he just do a third thing to finish his list? That's my bit. That's thief.
Third thing. You know what I'm saying?
Son of a bitch. Check out my podcast. I'm on record with that one. It's part of the reason I love doing these things where they're on the internet, because I'm like, see, I made that joke. happened to me with a Kill Tony joke a couple of years ago. I did like a short where I was like, comedy's hard, man. Like, when I first started writing, I used to just, when I first started writing jokes, I used to just steal Mitch Hedberg material. I still do, but I used to too. 2 likes, baby. Yeah, whatever. But I put it up there because I'm like, this is a funny joke and I want to claim it. And then years later on Kill Tony, I want to say Ian Fidance made a very similar joke. And that's happened to me in the past when I haven't had proof. Like, that's my thing. And it's a shitty feeling because you're like, hey, I thought of that already. And I have claim to a third thing for my rule of threes list. I was like 2 years old, McCann.
All right. Now, I'm a big fan of black people. I don't know how many I've...
He keeps kind of circling this like it's like a hot button issue. I don't know. Maybe he's going for like the cringe out. I don't know what this audience really looks like, but maybe he's going for the like guilty cringe out. But even that's dated.
I've managed to bring out to my show. This is a very fractured media landscape.
Oh, I think he's describing it right now.
I'm a big fan of black people. I don't know how many I've managed to bring out to my show. This is a very fractured media landscape, but I like it. It's new to me. I'm not from a country that has black people. That's entirely...
By the way, he did not talk about the Aborigines at all. Again, like, he's also a white colonizer. I'm not saying we didn't, I'm saying you also did, bruv. And he took the time to, like, throw Canada under the bus, too, so... Strange move.
We have Aboriginal people and we have...
That was weird.
It's entirely... new to me. I'm not from a country that has black people. That's entirely... We have Aboriginal people and we have African people, but we have no soul power. Do you understand?
Soul power. Was a fucking 80s joke? I don't know. I get it, because he's literally talking about how he's not, like, familiar with it. But in that, you should recognize, like, maybe I'm speaking kind of out of my depth here, and not like I'm going to offend someone, like I think he hopes. I think it's just like, it's just kind of hack. We've heard all the, like, black people be all, but white people be all. Like, that's like it's a classic hack bit.
I'm from an all-white country. If you're on a flight in Australia and there's a bumpy landing, everybody's silent. People that say nothing and they got their hands crossed and they're anxious and they're scared. And then you just carry that nervous tension around with you.
It literally almost said, almost as hack as making airplane jokes. I wish I would have said it out loud because the serendipity would be unbelievable. I'm not convinced that I haven't, like, seen this and forgotten about it. It's, with a brain like mine, that is entirely possible. It's more a testament to the special itself, or a testament to some part of the special itself that I don't remember it at all. I just, like, maybe I can feel these kind of rhythms, because, like, I literally was almost like, yeah, it's almost as hack as, like, you know, classic hack, like, airplane jokes are. And then he goes on to talk about airplanes.
For like a week. And then you just carry that nervous tension around with you for like a week.
That's so funny. Simultaneously, that one joke holds a black people be all, white people be all, and an airplane joke, all bundled into one mess of shit we've heard 1,000 times.
In America, if there is a bumpy landing, there will be a black guy on the flight, and he's going to go, oh! And you know what? Genuinely, thank you for saying that out loud. You've helped us all work through the tension.
That was petty, but still, fuck off, man.
Together. I believe that's called keeping it real, and I'm a big fan of it. I had my first conversation with a black woman in February last year. I'd met a couple of...
Interesting transition there. Black people be all too. I had my first conversation with a black woman.
I had my first conversation with a black woman in February last year. I'd met a couple of black guys before.
Okay, so this is actually a perfect example of what I was touching on earlier. I can't talk about two things. Okay? Like, if I talk about two things, I'm going to lose my visa. Here are the stakes. Here are the limitations that have been placed upon me. I can't talk about Israel, and I can't talk about black people. Here's a joke about Israel, and everyone's like, gasp, oh, you told us this is edgy to do. And now he's working his way into like, and now I'm talking about black people. That's right, I went there. He was setting himself up to seem more edgy when he does this stuff, because this is all so vanilla, middle of the road, unoffensive. He's just talking like it is offensive, and he's breaking down some kind of cultural boundary. It's like he's not. He just told us earlier in the act that that's what he's about to, like, that's what this would be if he did it. This is no act of bravery. It is an act of trickery. Perhaps clever trickery, but I'm glad I brought that up earlier, because that's exactly what he was doing. Going like, wouldn't it be crazy if I said stuff about this or this? And then goes on to say it. Yep, you've convinced us that in the canon that you've created in this little universe that this story takes place in, yes, that would be edgy. And yes, you are the Gandalf in this Middle Earth, I suppose.
Because not everyone's good enough to play in the NBA. And we send our scouts out to your colleges and we say, did you want to come and dunk on some honkies for a year? And every team in Australia is allowed to have one American.
Oh, he calls it Black Israelite because he's not allowed to talk about black people or Israel. Really leaning hard on that monopoly guy, on that contrived fact of there are only two things I can't talk about. I'm going to name my special after it and build all of my material around not being able to talk about that stuff, all the while maintaining this tiptoe through the roses, unoffensive, completely, unmemorable. I think that's the word. An unmemorable piece. I don't know. These jokes, I don't think they really hold the kind of water he is telling us they do. It's like, we're watching this leak, man. Like, we don't care. Like, oh, respect black people. You know, the thing about black people is, or respect him. That's been the whole bit. I love Israel.
It's always a black guy. Every time. We've never once got a gangly boy from Utah to come out. It's never an Eastern European guy. It's always a black guy. And I get to meet my first real conversation with a black lady. I was in West Virginia at a Taco Bell.
I think he's misinterpreting the tension in the room.
I didn't know what parts of the country were important to visit first.
Because, like, it is an interesting perspective to hear this. But it's just, what I resent is the build-up that, like, him doing this makes him very Kill Tony.
It's not there. Yeah, it's almost heaven, West Virginia. Almost doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and it's purgatory.
Small states be all boring.
Everybody, I was buying my Doritos tacos so I could feel a little less suicidal. You know how it is, and I came around to the intercom and everybody was like 8 people gathered around the intercom laughing at my accent. I don't think anyone from outside of this country had ever been to this West Virginia Taco Bell. I don't know what would bring them there. Anyway, I don't know what. It's a long story. I got to the first window. There was a lady there. She said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Australia." And then to be cheeky, I said, "Are you from Australia?" And she said, "I'm black." Do they treat black people nicely in Australia? And I said, no. And I drove on to the next window. I was not ready to have a full civics conversation. You tap and you go.
It is interesting that conversation was with a drive-thru worker, bro.
I just sat
Your first, like, this is probably unintentional. This is probably fiction. But let's pretend it's not for a second. So James Forbes Donald's McCann's has been hanging out in the Austin comedy scene, surrounded by Shane Gillis and his ilk and the Shane Gillis fan base. He's been in the States for at least a year now. And the first, and seemingly only, conversation he's had with a black woman was in West Virginia at a drive-thru. That says less about, isn't this a crazy story, this Australian guy I had my first conversation, it says less about who he is as a character, and way more, again, maybe it's not true, it's probably all fiction, but in the case that this is a real story, it says way more about those comedian circles that James McCann hasn't had a conversation with a black woman. It's like, that sort of corroborates a lot of the suspicions flying around about the Austinites, where it's like, yeah, it's one type of person, and they're all anti this or that and the other thing, and Rogan's kind of misinterpreting that and being like, they think we're all Republican, but like, we're very diverse here. It's like, that may well be true, but for those of us who are not in the mothership green room, when we hear that this Australian man has never had a conversation with a black woman, seemingly he was probably on tour for this, so he'd already probably based out of there or some other, that just speaks volumes. And again, I don't think that this isn't like a big call out of the Austin scene, but like, if this is true, look inward.
You tap and you go. I just sat at the next window feeling very sad and embarrassed. And then I was more embarrassed when she appeared at the second window, which was not her job. She had left, she'd taken the headset off, walked the full length of the Taco Bell, leaned across somebody, and said, "You really got a problem with black people in Australia?" And I said, "Listen, I love black people, I think. This is about number 4 that I've ever, my entire life, but I'm a big fan. I was trying to say my country has a problem." And she said, "Oh, well, that's what's up." And she gave me a fist bump, and it was the happiest day of my whole life. I've honestly never been so thrilled.
Yeah, okay.
Join the team. I'm an ally.
I'm an ally!
I started smoking menthol cigarettes. I fucking... Bill Cosby didn't do it. He was a good man, brought down by some people I'm unable to speak about right now.
That's definitely the funniest Israel joke I think he's had so far, in my opinion, where it's like, oh, okay, because it tied multiple concepts together and had a sort of callback nature to it. But again, I find myself so bored by this because I'm like, okay, just you are the one that told us this is cool to do. And I don't mean like it's okay to do, I mean like that this is like cool to do.
We love Bill. Well, the love for Bill goes hard out here in Philadelphia.
You know who he does love?
To this day.
Erkstern.
Those women's happiness was a small price to pay. No, he definitely did.
Cosby stuff, yeah, okay.
I'm genuinely a big Kanye fan, though.
Again, I think that a lot of this, because it's not an unfunny special, not that that's for any one person to determine, but like in my opinion, I don't find this unfunny. It's not poorly written necessarily, you know, it transitions, it flows pretty well. I just, again, the concept of the like setting yourself up to seem like an edgelord while delivering these very middle of the road takes, it just kind of takes me out of it. I think if that's the plot of this whole story, then like it just wasn't a hit. Because we're reaching the end. We're in the last like 5 minutes or so, because it's only 23 minutes and 36 seconds long. If you're hanging out here on Twitch, I will probably reset and set up another one just because I'm having a good time, and this was shorter than usual. If you're watching on YouTube, that will be available next week-ish. And yeah, so anyway, I'll do my summary when we get to the end of it. But I don't see, I hope he proves me wrong, but I can't really picture what he could say after all of this that would tie it all together and really floor me. It seems just like a good rant. Oh, and it doesn't call it a special. It calls it stand-up comedy. You cheeky Australian bastard.
I really... Not the music, just the politics. I love Kanye. And by the way, I am genuinely a big Kanye fan, though. I really... Not the music, just the politics. I love Kanye. And by the way, not the anti-Semitism. The anti-Semitism I disapprove of entirely. The anti-abortion stuff, 100% of the way with Kanye. Listen, we don't have to talk about that either. I shouldn't talk about that either.
Did you just hear the wind leave the room there? That's kind of what I mean, is he's like this hidden Catholic conservative. He kind of seems like a really eccentric guy, and for some reason, culturally, we tend to attach that to liberalism. Eccentricity and liberalism. But, like, he's a pretty classic example. Him just... It's such a weird... Okay, right on. Again, he's playing to those with, what did Stavros Halkias call it? Austin brain. But yeah, because that whole, like... Because this is obviously a Catholic take, and one of the things that Catholicism and conservatism sort of share is being anti-abortion. Okay, right on. The Kanye thing is also funny because it's demonstrative of his time on X, because that was where all of this, like, I'm a Nazi stuff was happening. And I was front and center for that. I was on X at a really funny time, because it was right around the election. So X was blowing up, and, like, you know, and people were like, oh, I can say whatever I want. This is the shit I hate. And, like, whatever, fine. And Kanye getting on and being like, I'm a Nazi. And then I think it was, like, the same day, a few hours later, he posted again. It was like, upon further reflection, I am not a Nazi. So it's a funny follow. James took this time to point out that he's anti-abortion. Okay, that's fine. It's irrelevant. You don't live here.
There's a couple more things I shouldn't talk. Anyway, we'll get to that.
It would be fine if he was, if he did live here and it was relevant too. I don't teach their own opinion-wise, but such a weird little thing to throw in there, because you are going to alienate some of your audience. That would have been the edgy thing to do. That would be, saying that was the edgy, like, take, that if he had gone on about it and still made it funny, even though he's alienating a huge part of the audience, then that would be very clever edginess. Instead of all this feigned, you know, he's trying to get street cred for being one of the edgy guys, saying how edgy he is, and then backing away when he realizes, like, or when he said something that he knew, not that he realized, but said something that he knew the crowd wouldn't, like, inherently find charming or get along with or agree with.
Potentially in the anti-Semitism I disapprove of entirely. The anti-abortion stuff, 100% of the way with Kanye. Listen, we don't have to talk about that either. I shouldn't talk about that either. There's a couple more things I shouldn't talk. Anyway, we'll get to that potentially in the... I love Kanye. I'm a big Kanye defender. When he came out the first time and said he loved Hitler,
I love it, dude.
I was defending him that day.
Let's get her again.
Anyway, we'll get to that potentially in the... I love Kanye.
I love it.
Kanye. I'm a big Kanye defender.
I wonder what she's talking... Okay, does she think that this is just a total joke and hasn't listened to any of his interviews where he shares these beliefs in depth? Did she agree? She's like, I love that take. I also don't agree with abortion. Or is she like, I love abortion, dude? I don't know. Let's not play What's the Drunk Girl Talking About.
Potentially in the... I love Kanye. I'm a big Kanye defender. When he came out the first time and said he loved Hitler, I was defending him that day.
Contrarian. Again, it's his contrarianistic takes.
I said
Which would be cool if that was like... Then he'd be like an edgy, interesting guy. This is just so blasé, dude.
He said that because he's a Christian.
No, I'll go to the end and I'll say Hitler. I agree with Kanye.
And he loves everybody, even Hitler. And that's a good Christian. That's what we're all called to do as Christians. Love it.
One guy after 7 seconds of silence. Yeah, that is a good Christian. You just got that guy to admit that that's just really funny. Not because James did anything right or funny there, but not that he's being, whatever.
Loving each other here this evening, that is entry-level Christianity. Kanye loving Hitler, that's advanced. He's brought himself to love even Hitler. This is saintly behavior. And then Kanye came out shortly after that and said he also really liked Hitler. And I thought, no.
It's funny. That'll happen in the contrarian game. I have a couple of takes that are you could consider them contrarian, especially the ones that are like you're wrong about blah 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 blah, and then they can make you feel when you try to be the devil's advocate for somebody. Sometimes that devil will come back and fuck you for it. That's what he's describing right there, which has also happened to me. I think I did the You're Wrong about Sam Hyde on Harlan. And like, you know, a little bit of discourse or whatever, and a couple people like agreeing or disagreeing. I think on my ex post about it or in the comments maybe. Kind of doubt that it was in the comments, but could have been. And my whole take was just like, because everyone at the time was calling it a crash out. Sam Hyde crashes out on Harlan podcast. Maybe I don't understand the term crash out, but like that didn't seem unintentional to me. He didn't like throw a temper tantrum. He didn't get like rage baited into being like, fuck your table, Harlan. I think he was just being a chaos guy. He's made a whole career out of doing that, from what I understand, which I don't know that character particularly well. I don't know his backstories or whatever super well. I've seen reviews on like Fish Tank and stuff, but that's his niche, and he like fucks shit up and like, you know, was a yesterpunk. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, right on. Like, yeah, I like Harlan, and I like don't like. You hate to see a guy's set get trashed, I guess, but for Sam Hyde, like it seemed like it was very on brand to me. And then after the Kirk assassination, he put out a video, and it was so strange. I still, again, I don't know him well enough to know if this was like satire or not, but I didn't really like, it's not that I disagreed with him or whatever, and maybe he knew the guy and that's why he had such like an emotional reaction, but these like calls for cancellation because like the left did it, we should be canceling these people because the left, like, it's the same thing. I hate to be the guy that says they did it to us, let's do it to them, but like they did it to us, let's do it to them. And I was kind of like, shit, that's not the character I thought I was kind of going to bat for. And I haven't really watched much since because I don't know, it's got nothing to do with anyone's political takes. I just lose interest in things. It's not up to me, as it were. So sometimes the contrarian take will come back and bite you in the taint.
That's ever so much worse. Kanye likes Hitler. I don't know if Hitler would like Kanye. I suspect he would not.
But there are people talking in the crowd. It sounds to me like a woman's voice. And in my head canon, as they call it, I think that she might have checked out during his weird stab at abortion.
I could be wrong. I mean, I could be. Maybe Hitler would love Kanye. Hitler would be like, wow, you're so cool. I love you. I loved jungle music and I love the future shoes. And I'm a big fan of your...
Jungle music. I think he should do more accents in character work. Because it's just really fun. Again, he's naturally is just a funny fella. He sounds funny. He looks funny. He also writes. And I think that he's really good at these characters, these voices. Because when he was doing the Brit, I commented on it. It was kind of funny. Sort of cute funny, but funny. And same with this, like, his Hitler impression. It's funny. He seems to me like he's good enough at voices for it to be comical. It's not like, whoa, he sounds just like a German guy. But because it's filtered through the mud of an Australian accent, it's funny. I don't think he even has to write funny. He can just kind of do that.
I love the future shoes.
Instead of trying to convince everyone how edgy he is.
And I'm a big fan of your ex-wife with the big fat ass. You know?
Oh, that's why he doesn't. They sort of fade toward the end.
Oh, that's a gas chamber we can all get behind. I do believe. I could.
Yeah, he's not that good at accents, but okay. Well, he knows himself.
That could go
I take back what I said. Cold take.
on for too long. We better pull out of that immediately. I'll tell you about my favorite ever Kanye West lyric. Favorite Kanye lyric of all time.
You hear people, or you hear them talking?
I'll tell you about my favorite.
Oh, it's because it's probably, they may be talking to the server. Dick move. He's filming stand-up comedy. What I thought was a stand-up comedy special. Because he's been pushing this like it's a special, but it's fucking 23 minutes long. I don't like that. I don't want that for stand-up specials. Maybe that's why he avoided calling it an actual special. He did the same thing with his Hey America, which was 10 months ago. This was, what, 3 months ago, 4 months ago or something. Why not just combine the two? Just make us, I don't know. Because it's, I mean, it goes back to the argument of, like, how do you define a song? It's like, well, if you define a song by, you know, intro, verse, bridge, chorus, verse, you know what I mean? Like, but that's not necessarily what a song is. So I feel like you could, just as much as a song is a piece of art, you could argue the same thing about a stand-up comedy special. It tends to be how I critique them, just as their own standalone things. And yeah, so I guess you can't really define what that. I can't say definitively this is not a stand-up comedy special because it's not blah blah blah. Some people have half-hour comedy specials. You see them use that term, but this is just 23 minutes of him telling us he's edgy and then demonstrating that he is indeed really not. Again, his edgiest take was the abortion thing, and if he had, I hope that's part of his act, or was at the time, because I think by the time, and I'm predicting this now, I think by the time McCann is writing about abortion, it's probably already widely accepted as a take, because he did this. That's all he's really done is just kind of towed the line of yester edgy. Things that, like, oh, you know, it's, for those who aren't paying attention, that might still pass. You know, it might still scan as like, oh, there's a white guy talking about black people. It's just like, but he's, oh, okay, he's doing it very favorably, and he's the butt of the joke. Cool, good.
Favorite ever Kanye West lyric. Favorite Kanye lyric of all time is when I go raw, I like to leave it in. You may know a thing or two about the. When I go raw, I like to leave it.
Ooh, we have a little shot of the audience here. I'm going to do some zoom ins. Let's see what he's working with. Yep, pretty much what I assumed. A lot of white dudes in flat brims and sort of baseball trucker hats, that kind of thing, which I have a tendency to wear from time to time, but yeah, I've got a couple of dudes that look like they might be, you know, mid-40s, working class folks. Some pretty decent drinkers, it seems, given the empty glasses and bottles on their tables. And yeah, I don't see a POC among them. Which again, neither here nor there, simply an observation.
You may know a thing or two about the. When I go raw, I like to leave in it. Do we all know what that means? There's no condom and you ejaculate in the pussy. The only way to
Kind of get the vibe of the room knows they're about to leave. I think the servers are. There's a term I've heard podcasters use for it, but where they start checking or something, where they put checks on people's tables.
do it.
And that ideally is a silent exchange, but sometimes people are like, oh, hey, can we get separate checks? Or can I get one more and then we'll cash out? Or whatever the fucking case.
So it sounds.
And that murmuring, I think, tends to get people a little bit more like, oh, shit, yeah, okay, grab your purse. You hear that rustle, and that all compounds. This feels like a class bell is about to ring, and they're all watching the clock.
Dirty.
I am.
It's not. That's one of the few rap lyrics you could play to the Pope. And he could hear that, and he'd go, yeah. That's how we've been telling people to do it for a long time.
Yeah, the beacon of morality, the Pope.
I'm so glad a fellow Chicago South Sider is spreading the good word about going raw and leaving it in. It's the only way to do it. It's the only.
He's holding the mic stand and kind of doing like a waddle, I guess I would call it. Maybe a skitter, depending on how tall he is. I feel like you can only really skitter if you're little. Skitter is such a compact word.
If you got a friend who's
He looks like he could see, perhaps scuttle.
depressed, you say, have you tried going raw and leaving it in? Because I think you'll be thrilled by the.
There's going to be a little bit of a twist when I go to give this its Eeks rating. Stay tuned. Excuse me, would you?
Who loves condoms? That's what I thought. And pulling out. Who pulls out?
We are about almost exactly 2 minutes from the end. It just went from Kanye and Hitler to condoms.
It's one of the, who pulls out? It's one of the.
It's too late for crowd work, bruv.
Who pulls out?
Here it's just kind of like, sure, man, yeah. Please, get to the end of the song.
It's one of the worst reaction times.
Just got booed.
Who pulls out?
I don't think it's like booing the guy. The guy's booing, pulling out. But if there's a boo in the crowd, even if you're like, everybody boo, it's like, it still kind of sends a chill. You never want to hear boo when you're on stage, even if it's someone joking around. I know, because I've done it to people. I'm sorry, Silver Sun Pickups. It was the sound at the venue. It had less to do with your lackluster performance. I wouldn't have just booed that. I just, trunk me. It'd be a real piece of work.
Reaction times I've ever heard.
Let's go back. I got distracted.
And pulling out. Who pulls out? It's one of the worst reaction times I've ever heard.
Oh, that's a funny joke. Holy shit, he snuck one in on me. Wow.
And pulling out. Who pulls out? It's one of the worst reaction times I've ever heard.
That's MVJ for sure. Most valuable joke in this piece. That was funny. Because I was sitting there like, oh, it took him a while. I mean, people are checking out, blah, blah, blah. I think that's because, this was very clever of him. He asks it in such a way that you don't really, it seems almost hypothetical. You know, he doesn't go, show of hands, how many people, blah, 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 blah. And that causes an inherent delay. And I think he knows that. I think that's why he phrased it that way. And what makes that super, super impressive as far as a piece of writing, like that's he knows his stuff, as demonstrated by that right there. That was very, very clever. Big fan of that.
That is not going to be an effective method of contracepting for you. Pulling out is gross and evil, and it makes sex bad and lame. I'm not allowed to give this speech at middle schools anymore, so I've had to become a comedian. I really am a big anti-pull-out guy. It ruins the sex.
This is a bold take.
Yeah, because you know, it's like going to a party and leaving your hat on the whole time, and your coat, and you're always getting ready to leave. You never really settle in. You know what I'm saying? Sexual congress is about, you're meant to be getting closer to one another.
So that accents.
You know what I'm saying? Sexual congress is... You know what I'm saying? Sexual congress is about, you're meant to be getting closer to one another, and closer.
Sexual congress? Something so repulsive about that.
Do you get to the moment of ultimate closeness, at which point you have to go, get the fuck away from me? Oh, no. It's not about pulling out here, it's about pulling out here. It's one of the things I like about America. It's a very go raw, leave it in country. You don't call it that. You call it land of the free and home of the brave. Because you think about it, there's nothing more free than going raw. And there's nothing braver than leaving it in. I mean, that'll...
Okay. Yeah. Structurally, it seems so weird to be really harping on this concept that was only very recently introduced. I think it's way more satisfying in a story or in a song when you have a little bit more of a return to one. I've said it before, but that's what really can make these things, whether it's a song or whether it's a comedy special or it's a story or what have you, it can make it feel so much more cohesive. Oh, that's why he talked about that, or that's right, because the thing that he established here makes this more clear to me now. Oh, okay. Like, it can be so satisfying to do that. And I don't know if these modern comedians, like, because it was far more common when I was growing up watching comedy specials, and I don't know if it's a level of professionalism, this discrepancy of, like, maybe, I don't know if they don't know how to do that. And I almost feel like I doubt that they don't know how to do it or recognize that it's powerful. I'm wondering if it's like stylistically it's become a little outdated, and so they're just but I don't think you could chalk that up to style. I really don't. I think that it just doesn't, it's comedy and this is not a comedy special, but comedy specials to me feel a lot more like, wow, what a cool thing. What an experience, like a well-told, a well-written book where you're like, oh, this kind of glows in my mind when I think about it. And there are comedy specials that came out this past 2025 that did that for me. Few of them, maybe only one of them, but genuinely, like, that writing style, I hope it's not that it's outdated, and just that we have a lot of comedians who jumped a lot higher, a lot faster than they ordinarily would have, for a litany of reasons. Cancel culture taking down some of the bigger names in comedy, but also the availability of things like YouTube, where, as has been said, you used to have to polish a thing and make it perfect, and then you'd take it to HBO, and they would work it with you, and they'd bring the full production and cameras, and by the time you were up on stage telling the jokes in your special, like, you had it down. It had been worked over, maybe just by you, but still worked over so much that it was this, this nigh perfect little piece. And YouTube, although it's cool that we get to see more comedy from smaller creators and smaller comedians, skipping that step is costing them a lot in their integrity. Being like, I have some good jokes. I mean, it's the Brian Schaub thing, where he'd only been doing it for a few years when he put out his first special. I think you'd be surprised or whatever. And there were jokes, but they weren't refined. They didn't tie into each other. They weren't transitions that, like, oh, that was so, it's like Beth Stelling nailed her transitions in all but one or two cases. I think just one. Utterly nailed them, and that's just from working over the material and trying this thing next to the other thing. Does this song set us up for this song to make this song really good? Like, you know, that it's building a set list, building an album, you know, putting the jokes together for a special. It's, you can tell when someone has a mind to pay attention to those small things. Like in your final joke, making callbacks that tie everything together. Say what you will, but Brian Callen did it better than almost anyone in the last year. Come at me. I can prove to you why I'm right about that. I'm not saying I like the guy, but I'm saying that by that standard, by starting to look like a more classical standard for a comedy special, he nailed that aspect. The final joke he has ties acts 1, 2, and 3 of his 3-act structure beautifully together. Whether you like those acts or not. Anyway, we'll get into that. Maybe I'll do that next. Let's finish out James Donald Forbes McCann's comedy, Black Israelite.
All right, that's really all I wanted to record. That'll be about a half hour.
Well, it's not about a half hour, which means you cut a bunch of shit out, and I can't imagine what those things were like.
All right, that's really all I wanted to record. That'll be about a half hour.
So nothing. No closer at all. He just had some jokes in mind. And had been working it around the Austin scene or whatever. Like, dude, summary thoughts here. First of all, this is not a comedy special. He doesn't even go out of his way to call it a comedy special, so I'm not going with his Eeks score is he doesn't get one. This is it's what I use to rate full comedy specials. What do I think of this series of jokes? I think James thinks it's way cooler than it is. I think it was presented as though it was edgy and it was vanilla. I think that it lacked any kind of like cohesive structure. There were some transitions that he used, but it was mostly keyword transition, which can work, like in the case. I'm not even going to try to defend that. I'm not disappointed because I think disappointment implies a certain degree of surprise. I'm not surprised by this. I've been lukewarm on James McCann since I first saw him. The more I get to know of his work, the more I get to know of who he is on podcasts and stuff, the more I'm certain that I was just right. Like, the more I'm glad that I was wary. I believe in my tastes for being kind of wary of him. Not because I'm like, whoa, man, like, you can't say the things that you were saying. Whoa, like, that's not okay. It's because of just this lack of attention to detail. Also, it's not cute or endearing to not care about the thing you're doing. That's such a Gen Xery way of looking at it. A lot of millennials kind of pick that up too. They're like, what? Oh, I don't care. Like, there's no ceremony to this. It's like the first couple of dudes to do that were cool and brilliant or whatever, but this whole like too cool for school, too nonchalant to give a fuck about my art. I'm just that good. It's like, you don't come off cavalier, you come off underprepared. Like, oh, what's underprepared? It's like, oh, how cute of you. I don't understand. I'll give him this. There weren't any ads. That was nice. That I respect. I wish he'd talk about that kind of thing more. I wish he'd start calling out other comedians for it, though I know he will never do that. Because we've seen what he does when he tries to be the guy who's calling out the big dogs, because he was fishing for his viral moment there. He was fishing for coverage on Too Lazy to Try and Podcast Cringe. He really, really wanted American Redact to misunderstand what he was saying. But then he backed away because he got scared. Then he backed away because he's like, oh shit, I can't like go after Rogan. I was just kind of trying to hypothetically tackle some shadow creature that, you know, isn't actually there, so I can't actually offend anyone that's important to my career, but I seem to the people that like that kind of thing as though I'm calling people out on their bullshit. I say it like it is. But he backed away. He hid from his own abortion joke and hid behind the punchline of like, oh, can't talk about that. You're right. Maybe there are things I can't talk about. It's like, no, you're just afraid because you know you're going to get some disapproval. And you don't want to be the guy who catches flack for the things he says. You want to be the guy that looks like he doesn't care about that. Which is why you're like, yeah, it should be about half an hour. I'm fucking out of here. Because it's way easier to do that and pretend you're being punk rock than it is to sit down and write a closing joke or to fucking find the melodic conclusion to the song you've been playing or singing. It's like it's way hard to write the end of a story, so a lot of these guys are just going like, because I just don't care, I'm that cool. Look, it shouldn't be so pomp and frills. Like, it's like you, as an audience member, watching someone that doesn't care, it's like, did I just waste my fucking time? Like, especially if I'm not already a fan of you, which I think James is kind of getting a little ahead of himself on, because he is probably selling out all of his shows. He's done all the big podcasts. You know, he's got the following going for him, which is going to trick people because he's going to start being edgier, because he is a contrarian. But like in his act, not like what he says on X or whatever, but like in his act, he's going to start being edgier, but that's because it's entirely safe for him to be edgy now. And if it isn't who he is, then he would have gone into his abortion material, even knowing he was pissing people off. If it was well done, he would win them back at the end. He backed away from his Rogan thing. And a third thing too, motherfucker. This has been Critical Eeks. Please like and subscribe, because if you enjoyed this, we are indeed of a tribe. And I will see you soon. Probably in a little bit here if you're on Twitch. Otherwise, please go subscribe on YouTube. This has been Critical Eeks. In the meantime, be nice. Cheers, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Have a fantastic existence.